That's what I am stressing on this point. Where is book? Where is book? Where is book? So kindly help me. This is my request.
So it's not that there are book distributors and there are non-book distributors. It's not that there are Sankirtan devotees and some other kind of devotee. Everyone's a Sankirtan devotee, and everyone's invited to do book distribution. So one of the ways that we've had success in the West in increasing book distribution dramatically over the last 4 years is by the program we call the Monthly Sankirtan Festival, which we call MSF. And this MSF is an invitation especially to all of the congregation. There are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of congregational members here in India. And each one of them is a book distributor, believe it or not. If you introduce them to book distribution right away, as soon as possible, as part of the overall experience of being in Krishna consciousness, then that's what they'll know. And that's what they'll learn from the very beginning. The monthly Sankirtan festival requires teamwork, because a lot of devotees each working together as a team has a dramatic effect. And oftentimes in book distribution programs, devotees think about themselves. How am I going to do? How am I going to be number one? But in the MSF, we think of the team first. In fact, we don't even report individual scores for the MSF. We report the team score, and we all work together. All for one, and one for all. It's all together. And the devotees still have competition, because that comes naturally with the human experience. You don't have to push it much. But we work together as a team. Another aspect of it is that it's fun. Everyone likes to go out. There's no heavy pressure for the MSF, but devotees are invited to come out, and one interesting aspect of it is the kids all come out. At our temple at ISKCON of Silicon Valley, we have about 100 kids, and they all like to go out for book distribution. In fact, just the other day, they've been going out. We had a seminar at our temple recently where we invited people to come from around the world, and they could learn different aspects of book distribution. One of them was Kids Sankirtan. And so one of the women who runs that program, Kameshwari Dasi, was speaking, and some of the people from out of town were asking her, how young are the children when they first start to go out? And she said, and someone said the perambulator, the baby carriage. And then she reconsidered, she goes, no, before that. And everyone was like, what do you mean? I said, when they're in the womb. Because the parents go out and the kids hear it when they're going out doing the book distribution door to door. And then the kids start going out when they're just little babies. They go with the parents, obviously, unless they're like the 4 Kumaras. And the kids, the other day, Hansapriya, one of the devotees at our temple, saw a group of the kids sitting over on one side of the temple having some kind of conversation. So she went over and sat near them and listened while she was taking her prasadam. And they were having a Sankirtan meeting, these kids. Some of them were 6, 7, up to 12. And so they were having this discussion about whether they should bring deities with them to distribute door to door. And we do that sometimes, because Prabhupada said that the Gaurnitai deities, he told Dhananjaya, you can distribute them in public. He said, Gaurnitai are so merciful, even if they go to the house of a meat eater, they won't take offense. Gaurnitai ki jai. So the kids were there having this meeting back and forth about how to increase their own party. They come to all the Sankirtan meetings like this. You'll see a bunch of kids sitting over here, raising their hand, giving suggestions, and they all go out together, right? You were just there? The kids go out, they go with the supervision parents, and it's a little different program. They bring a lot of snacks for the kids. They take some playtime in between and everything like that. But when you ask kids if they want to go on Sankirtan, both hands go up. And it's the most fun thing. And I like to tell the parents that if you're talking about sending your kid to get an MBA or something like that, this is better. These kids, they learn how to sell. They learn how to communicate. They come home, they count all their own Lakshmi, they do all their own accounting, and they're 7 and 10 and 11 and things like that. Sankirtan gives you street smarts. MBA gives you book smarts. So this is actually an important aspect of our ISKCON communities, to get everybody involved, even from a very early age. And I can already see in the group of kids, there's already some leaders emerging who are ready to take over it. Maybe in another 5 years, they'll be leading the whole party. So kids can go out, and mothers and fathers. We get a lot of mothers and fathers that come visit our devotees. So what do they do for fun? Instead of sitting around while the parents are watching Bollywood films or something like that, they say, okay, mom, dad, grandma, let's go on book distribution. They go, what's that? So you'll find out. And they take them out with them. Everybody, it's for everybody. You take everybody out. So the monthly Sankirtan festival, we do together. Here's the recipe to get it started. Decide that you're going to do a monthly Sankirtan festival, and it's best to decide with the leaders who will ratify the whole program, and then set some goals, and then get started. And here's the first goal when you're starting a monthly Sankirtan party. Whenever I go to a new temple where I'm teaching about the MSF, I tell them, first time we're not going to distribute any books. We're just going out, and the first goal is to go out and touch the pavement. As soon as you touch the pavement, you're done. Anything after that is extra. So one of the principles is, when you're inviting a lot of people from the congregation, is to keep the bar so low that when people look at it, they say, oh, that's easy, I could step over that. And it takes away all the expectation that you have to perform. And when you take people out for the first time, and you say, the hardest part about the MSF is moving all the devotees from point A to point B. Troop movement is the most challenging part of the Sankirtan party. But once you get out there, they all get together, wherever they're going, in their different parties, they touch the pavement, and they say, we're done. Now, anything we do is extra. We do a little training session for the devotees, and we line everybody up in 2 lines, facing each other. And we go through how to sell a Bhagavad Gita on its own merit. And one learns to do it to the other, and then we do it back, and they ask questions. We do about a 1-hour orientation of how to actually say the lines that will help you to sell a book. Then they feel confident. They know what to say. And you take them out, say no expectation, and then you can take them around, and they can watch and see what happens. So a few of our mantras for the monthly Sankirtan festival are, one is, book distribution is high sadhana. Everyone please say. Yes, when you take your congregation out for the monthly Sankirtan festival, they'll become Madhyama Adhikaris. Kanishta Adhikaris, as you'll remember I said yesterday, sit around arguing with one another about who's doing what wrong. And they make excuses. Madhyama Adhikaris on the other side, they think about how to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. Which would you rather have? Kanishta or Madhyam? Let's vote for Kanishta first. Raise your hand if you want a bunch of Kanishta Adhikaris in your congregation. Okay, now let's hear it for the Madhyas. You got to vote for one or the other. Kanishta. They sit around arguing all day, talking about who's doing everything wrong. So Kanishta, who wants Kanishtas? Madhyama Adhikaris. Okay, so this is the way to do it. One way is to teach them about the value of hearing and chanting, and then take them out on Sankirtan and show them how to do book distribution, because they'll very quickly become elevated. Another mantra, always better service. Everyone please say. So this we call the ABS principle. After every event, you get together and we ask everyone to share their experiences. So say a group of 20 devotees goes out for one of the first MSFs. And they go out for a couple hours only. And they try a little bit of book distribution. Then you invite everyone to come back to somebody's house or a nice place in the temple, and you give them nice prasadam. That's fun, right? Then right after that, everyone sits in a circle, and we ask everyone to share one thing that happened, one of their experiences. And we go around and everyone says, you know, this is my first time out, and I met this person, and I was nervous, and the person came up to me and said, oh, I've been looking for the Bhagavad Gita for the last 20 years, and now there you are. And then someone else gives another realization. You go around and you just share, and you hear. And when the devotees hear these, we call them GNABs, Good News Action Broadcasts. When they share these GNABs, then they get enlivened and they get confidence, right? And then, after we do that, we do a lightning round of room for improvement. So we have one person writing everything down, and we say, where are the room for improvement? Everyone say what we could have done better, because there's always something. You know, such and such couldn't find the keys to the van, and, you know, the book room was locked, or whatever. You know, we needed more foreign books. We needed no more books in Tamil, you know. So you write it all down, you make a list, and then you prioritize the list. And every month, before the next MSF, you make sure you make at least 3 improvements, 3 primary important improvements. And what happens in management is, it's an old paradigm, that when people in your organization see that things are getting better incrementally, they'll want to do more than they're asked to do. When people see that things are staying about the same in quality, then they do just what they have to do. But when people see that things are getting worse and going down, then they quit. So Prabhupada said you should always create a fresh challenge so that everyone will want to rise up and meet it. So there's always better service. ABS principle means always be thinking, how can we incrementally improve this month? Make at least 3 improvements every month. And everyone starts to notice, the whole environment in the organization starts to feel like it's progressive and everybody's moving in the right direction. And then this last principle is what the MSF is built on, a lot doing a little. It's a more sustainable model than a few people doing everything. When you get a lot doing, the masses doing, and they're each doing according to their capacity. It doesn't matter how small they do. The masses really end up doing much bigger than the few. So we also have a few principles, and that is to make it fun. Think of ways that you can make your MSF a lot of fun. So when the devotees go out, sometimes we all have a picnic outside when the weather's nice. In Toronto, they rented a double-decker bus. You know what that is? Yeah, so they put the devotees on a double-decker bus, drove around the city, they'd get off at different intervals, they'd have a Harinam on the bus, and people were looking, where's that coming from? Then they'd get off and distribute books. Innovate and find out ways that makes it fun for everybody to go out once a month. And then teamwork, creating fresh challenges. Next one, encourage the heck out of everyone. Everybody needs this encouragement because every day we're bombarded with the material energy, which tends to drag us down. And when you can say encouraging words to people, it actually lifts up the whole environment of your Sankirtan party. Encouragement. So turn to somebody now in the room and give them some encouragement. Are you ready? When I say 3, 1, 2, 3, go. Encourage. You're doing good. Thanks for coming all the way up here. Hare Krishna. Encourage the heck out of them. More encouragement. Do it again. Sankirtan party's built on courage. You got to have courage. you build a culture like this where you go around and you catch people doing something right. All right, stop encouraging everybody. It's addictive, isn't it? Catch people doing something right. You should walk around. If you can hear me, raise your hand. 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 Okay. So, when you walk around and you try to find people doing something right, and then take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute to encourage them. Where could you see that? Just walking around this campus, where could you see somebody doing something right? And how would you encourage them? Give me an example. Yes, Mataji. Give her the mic. Wait a sec, 1 sec.
Hare Krishna. Devotees driving us around from our quarters to the temple and back.
Yeah.
I always stand there, stop there to thank them.
That's nice. That's the spirit. Everywhere you go. Peter Burwash, when he, yes, please.
And helpers who are cleaning the things, the cleaning, doing the cleaning works, we must appreciate them also. They are doing the great services to us.
Exactly. Take time to go back there. Find out the people, the invisibles who are behind the scene, and tell them, you're doing great work. Thank you for doing this. Yes, in the back.
Today's breakfast was amazing, especially the Rava Uttapa. So I went to the person who was making the Uttapa. At a time, he was making around 25 or more, 28. Then we thanked him, and he said it was wonderful, and we asked him, what is the recipe? Then it was a very simple one, so we got encouraged and encouraged him in the bargain also.
Uddapam ki.
Jai.
So you get the idea that everybody needs encouragement. Don't take it for granted that everyone's feeling fine. They're not. Everyone needs some encouragement. And if you build this culture, we're all volunteers. We're not being paid for this. So everyone needs to have this kind of encouragement. And this is one of the principles of the monthly Sankirtan festival. Empower people. This is another thing. And that is, when you see that people in your party have an unusual enthusiasm for doing it, like I see all the time when we start these MSFs in a new group of congregation, somebody in there is sitting up front, they're totally into it, they've been waiting for this for the last 10 years, they want to do service, and then they have a suggestion and they say, it'd be really nice if we could put all these in really nice boxes. And you say, okay, you're hired, you do it. He's in charge of the box department, put him in charge. And Prabhupada, when people would come to him and say, I want to do this project or that project, Prabhupada would empower them. The opposite of empowerment is bureaucracy. And Prabhupada said, bureaucracy is there, the people in the bureaucracy are trained to say no to everything. Before it even comes out, it's just no, you can't do it. But in our program, in the MSF program, we empower people. When people come forward, you see a spark, and if there's no category for them to work in, make a new one. And appoint them as something. So you get people who have a stake in it, and they really want to do well. Fun. You'd say devotees go out, and this is a picture from Toronto, Canada. They set up these tables, they have Harinam, and you see this devotee passing out prasadam to the devotees going by. They work together to put on all kinds of programs, and here's a typical way that the MSF goes off in many of the temples. Friday morning program, and then breakfast, and a little bit of training before everyone goes out the door. Just a refresher, unless if people haven't been trained yet, then it's a little bit longer. And then street Sankirtan, just for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. And then lunch, nectar stories, as I mentioned before. Followed by room for improvement, the ABS principle, right? So start small and then grow. So now we'll take some reflections, some things that you heard so far that stuck in your mind about the MSF. And if you have any questions about the MSF, let me know too. Go ahead.
I like the GNAB, Good News Action Broadcast, that enlightens the other people when one is sharing, and so that new ideas can be taken from the other people.
Yeah, and those can be sent out through WhatsApp also on a regular basis. Always keep that flowing. The GNABs have to be flowing. What's working? What somebody just do that's really nice. Now you can send little video clips and pictures through WhatsApp, everything like that. Nice, thank you.
The children,
The
the children doing active participation in book distribution. In fact, in our temple there was a boy called Vanamali who sold the maximum number of books. He used to just go to the street, show the book and say, "Uncle, please take this Krishna book. It is very sweet. It's not very costly." And just seeing his innocent face, people used to buy the books.
Yeah, that's right. And Prabhupada says when Krishna comes to Nanda Maharaj, before the lifting of Govardhan Hill, he said it's irresistible when a small child starts talking philosophy. It's like, what'd you say? Come over here. You got to hear what he just said. Go ahead, buy a book from him. You know? Yeah.
Can I see the previous slide, please?
Yes. This one?
One of the points you said, touch the pavement.
Yes,
So
just touch the pavement.
Keep the expectation very low.
Keep the bar so low, expectation down. Later on, the bar can come up. Later on, the devotees will want to do more. They start thinking, you give them a fresh challenge. But in the beginning, when you start these MSFs for the congregation, you keep it so easy, so low. Don't put any expectation, no pressure whatsoever. What happens if you put too much pressure is people, they'll say, yeah, I'll be there, and then they just don't show up. And then it's like, you know, I had an appointment, I had to polish my cricket bat or something like that, you know, whatever. Yes?
We should take feedback so that when they tell their experience, so they get enlivened by their experience.
Yes, it's the most powerful time. I always look forward to it at MSF. When we get back and together we go around and we share and we talk about what happened. It's always the most wonderful part because Krishna always helps the new devotees get these really wonderful realizations. And then we see, those of us who have been doing Sankirtan for a while, this is real. There's a real taste in this. This is not just artificial hoopla that we're making so more people will go out. They actually feel the internal potency and they start feeling compassion for other souls. Madhyamadikari, don't leave them as kanishtas. You leave a bunch of kanishtas sitting around, you got a lot of problems. You get madhyams, you get people thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. Okay, what else? Yes. Yes. The mantra you liked was? That's a dead mic. We'll fix it for you. There you go.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You gave us the mantra for book distribution is a high sadhana, then always better service, then a lot doing little.
Yeah, nice. Those are good mantras. They go a long way. And the Pandit right back there. Yeah.
This one point out very deeply stuck that instead of sending our children to Hiranyakashipu's school, we can engage them in Sankirtan movement. And when we engage the children in the Sankirtan movement, the complete development is happening. This outside education is not at all required because the Sankirtan they are getting all the training, speaking training, courage training, everything. So this point has to be very deeply thought and applied.
Yes, and it's not that we're, employing kids to go out and do the work for us or something like that. Because sometimes people get that idea, but when they come to our temple and they see actually how it's going on, that it's going out with the parents, it's family time when they're at its best, then people start to see that this is a wonderful experience for the kids. They're actually meeting people from different cultures, learning how to talk to them, learning other languages and so forth. And they actually do develop this deep realization about what they're doing. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Other point was create fresh challenges, as Prabhupada said.
That's right. In a letter that Prabhupada wrote to one of the GBC at the time, Karandar Prabhu, he said that you should not kill the spirit of the devotees. You should be very careful not to kill their spontaneous spirit to do service, because it's all voluntary. He said, therefore, you should create an atmosphere in which devotees wanted an atmosphere in which devotees do individual, spontaneous, and voluntary service. What is it? Individual, voluntary, and spontaneous. Individual, spontaneous, voluntary. These three things. Then he said, and you should always create a fresh challenge so that they'll want to rise up and meet it. That's what keeps everything exciting. Yes?
Hare Krishna. I like the point about teamwork and the fact that you announce only the team scores and not the individual ones.
Yeah. For these MSFs, it's a little hard to change the other culture that we have, and we're not trying to, but for the MSF culture and for the congregation, let them come in as a team and work together, all for one and one for all, and you'll see that they support each other, and they all try to do better, and they all make the goal to hit the whatever. Once they start to get trained up and they get a little momentum, you can start making goals together and do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and over a few years, the congregation can become huge, absolutely huge. MSF, and you can add that to whatever else you're doing now. Imagine another 10,000 devotees going out, another 100,000 devotees going out, and even if it's once a month, it'll have a huge impact. And what also happens is devotees start going out once a month, and then they want to go out more. Now we have our MSF at Mountain View started once a month, but now devotees go out every weekend, and the marathon starts in just after Radhashtami, and it goes all the way to January. And it's because they have a taste for it, and they're working together. Okay, so here's some tips. How are we doing for time? And what else do you want me to cover right now?